Keith, what does it feel like to be back? Manager of the Bees, third stint.
Right,
You know,
third time around. It's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, it's obviously, with Mark and Craig and Klauke and a lot of BK and a lot of the guys that are still here, it feels like coming home. It is home. But no, it's great. We got a great group. The front office people that are here now are, it's like it's going to get back to being Angels baseball. We're going to be doing things the way that we were when we were winning a lot of ball games and being aggressive, and it's going to be a great product.
A lot of experience back. I think there's something like 18, 20 guys that have AAA experience, if not Major League experience. How that can help you guys?
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, it's even further than that. The clubhouse is awesome. I mean, these guys, they're actually, it has a little bit of an old school feel, where guys are invested in each other. It's like everybody in there, the position players care about the pitchers care about the position players, they care about each other, As a manager, I care about every single one of them. So I'm just really, really excited about this ball club getting out in the field and seeing what's this for.
Keith, do the Angels ask for your input at all? Do you want to go back there? I mean, how does that work, that process?
No, I mean, obviously, with Soch retired, there's some moves that were made, and I was in Miami for the last 4 years with the big league club over there, and then the same thing when they decided to move on from Don Mattingly, they had some changes over there, and and this opportunity arose, and it was it fits like a glove. It feels like I never left. I love the A. I've always have. I born and bred. I've made it to the big leagues over here, and I cut my teeth over here as a manager at the AAA level. So it was kind of a no-brainer.
Seeing snow on the fields, or you're back in Utah?
It's perfect. Yeah. Like yesterday, it was sunny, then the wind came, and then it snowed overnight. And it's probably going to be sunny again. It's just it's spring in Salt Lake.
Keith, was there anything in time working in Miami with Don Mattingly, under Mattingly, that you learned maybe you didn't expect to learn?
I mean, it's just he's a great baseball guy. Obviously being over there, and it was a different organization. The things that the things that we valued, the things that I valued being under Soch for so long, it was a little bit of a different transition because the players were different. Obviously, that organization is built on pitching. We were built on just playing the game right. Hitting, running, bunting. Putting pressure on the defense, playing really good defensively. And then being fundamentally sound. So it was just a different style of ball. But just being around Donnie every day, it was refreshing.
Do you expect your managerial style will be any different? Will incorporate some new things that you learned from your time in Miami?
I mean, the biggest thing that I learned in Miami wasn't necessarily from any of the coaching staff. It's just like that gap between the major leagues and AAA. It's gotten bigger and bigger over the years. And my belief is that like the older veteran players, whether it's hitters or position players, that forced a pitcher to learn how to pitch or forced a hitter to learn how to hit because they can move the ball around, and I couldn't just have one swing all the time. Those guys are gone. But it's just a matter of how these guys go about their business day in and day out, having a routine, being diligent about how they prepare, so that way when they get to the big leagues and failure comes, that fall is to where their routine is. Where if they don't have that, then that fall is going to be bigger. So that's the thing that I have. A lot of these guys are already ahead of the curve in that aspect. So I'm looking forward to working with them.
Joe Adell, starting with you guys. Obviously, he has big league experience. What does he need to work on to make sure he doesn't come back here when he gets that call?
I tell you what, Joe's really good. I mean, when I was here before, my last year here, the only contact I had with Joe was when I was the third base coach at the Futures game. He was a young guy coming up through A-ball at the time. And to see where he is now, and the progress that he's made over the last year, and where he is, the spring training that he had this year, showing even more progress. Having conversations with him and seeing where his mind is. I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised when you see him go out here and the consistency of his game because of the consistency of how he goes about his business now.
The style of play with some of the rule changes, I know on the podcast with Steve, you talked about how fans are going to enjoy the exciting, aggressive brand of baseball. And you mentioned how last year with the Marlins, the last couple of years with the Marlins, base stealing was such a large part of the game. How do the larger bases and the pitcher disengagement rules and things like that, how will you incorporate that into the type of game that your team is going to play?
It's going to play a huge role. You know, it's like obviously, you know, knowing that a guy can only pick twice, it's you know, and then you have a little bit of freedom there to kind of have a one-way lead depending on who your runner is. The bigger bases, you know, allow a little bit more room, you know, for sliding areas, so that way you can avoid a tag or whatnot. You're going to get to the bases a little bit quicker. You know, those bang plays where it's like, you know, maybe a half a second or less between being out or safe. Now you might be a little bit more inclined to be safe. You know, but obviously, like our style is going to be based on the players that we have. Because if you look at our major league, the construction of our major league roster, you know, you got Anthony Rendon and you got Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout and Taylor Ward and Hunter Renfroe. You have guys that you don't necessarily want to take too many chances stealing bases in front of. But that team is going to go first to third. You know, they are going to beat out the backside of a double play to try to score a run. They are going to try to go first to home. The batter runner is going to advance to second if somebody tries to throw somebody out at third. So those types of things are definitely going to come back into play, along with, you know, first and third is going to come back into play more so because of the shift restrictions. Now that top spin ground ball, you know, to the pull side that goes right by second base, that used to be just a routine out. Those are now going to become base hits. You know, so now it's going to offer, you know, greater opportunities for runners that are on first base to advance to third. So there's going to be a lot of things other than just stealing bases that are going to come into play.
You're back in your old stomping grounds, but what do you think about the new stadium being built in a couple of years and moving the team out of Salt Lake City?
You know, obviously, I have fond memories of this ballpark. You know, being a player here. You know, I mean, in 2002 we made it to the championship, and you know we lost to Edmonton. You know, the same year that, you know, the Major League Club won the World Series, and then, you know, in 2013 we made it to the championship again, and you know, losing in 5 to Omaha. You know, so you know, it's been a great lot of memories here. You know, obviously it's going to be a new ballpark, so we'll see what that brings. But you know, I know there's a lot of things that everybody's trying to do to make sure that the neighborhood doesn't lose a whole lot. And you know, I've been paying attention to that in the news and whatnot. So I'm hopeful of that. But I'm excited about the new opportunity as well.
And then life being improved for the players with the new CBA, I mean, salaries, living, medical, all that. It's just going to make your team happier, I would think.
Absolutely. I mean, now it seems more like, you know, it was a grind being a minor leaguer. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of, you know, the casual fan would kind of scowl at major league players trying to get the most money. You see millions of dollars and they decline it, and you know, but like some of the conditions, you know, were pretty rough. You know what I mean? So now it's more like a job. You know what I mean? You're taken care of a little bit better. You know, and it's going to allow for players to come out and be themselves a little bit more, because they're, you know, that stress of all of those extra external things aren't going to be as great.
What are your thoughts on the automatic balls and strikes system, and do you think we'll see the big leagues in it?
It's too far down the path now for me to think that it's not going to show up in the big leagues at some point. You know, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, the last time I was involved with it was in 19 in the fall league. You know, and it was still they were still working out some of the kinks. And I hear this year it's going to be better because it's just going to be the width of the plate as opposed to the extra 1.5 inches on each side. You know, the Hawkeye system is going to be available now, so it's going to be a little bit more, accurate as far as balls and strikes. I like the fact that there's going to be 3 days where the umpires, you know, are going to be calling balls and strikes, you know, and we have the challenge system, so it's going to allow guys to get a better feel for you know, what the strike zone is and what it's not. But you know, to think that it's not going to show up in the big leagues, I think that would be foolish. But like I said, it's one of those things where, you know, there's a lot of history in this game. There's a lot of things in this game that should remain the same, but there's some things that, you know, if it's an improvement on the game, then I think it should be added.
I mean, there's a lot of talk of this eliminating that human error, and some of the, you know, maybe the arguments that happen in baseball. Do you feel that ABS could end up eliminating that kind of component from the game?
Yes. You know, but the thing about it is, it's twofold. One, like the human error, and it's kind of the the pageantry of baseball. The arguing, the throwing the hat, kicking the dirt, and all that. But two, it's like if you're doing something and there's a way to make it as accurate as possible, I think you have to explore it. But like I said, the game has always been built around human error and the human element, and to see the human element get pushed further and further away, as an old school guy, it's a little disheartening. But at the same time, if it improves the game in some kind of way, and like I said, I'm all for it.
Looking ahead to opening day, can you talk to us a little bit about your possible opening day starter, Chase Stillset?
Oh man, I've heard nothing but great things. You know what I mean? It's like obviously last year he went from Double A to the big leagues. He had a pretty good spring. I think he had one outing where it wasn't up to his standards. But but all these guys. I mean, shoot, I looked at the stats last year. The team they won the ERA title. That's not easy to do. This being our home ballpark, but a lot of these guys, I'm excited to see them pitch. A lot of them, it's going to be my first time seeing them, in game action, as their manager. So I'm excited, but I think Chase is going to get the ball rolling for us in a very positive manner.
Gerardo Reyes, he just pitched in the World Baseball Classic. What can we expect, from him? What do you know?
I mean, once again, he spent most of the time. He wasn't in spring training a whole lot. He was over there a lot, but everything that I've heard is like it's a guy that's going to attack the strike zone. He's going to give us innings, and whenever we give him the ball, he's going to take it. So like I said, I'm excited about our whole team. You know what I mean? But our pitching staff, particularly our bullpen. We're all excited about. We're going to score some runs. We're going to pitch. We're going to play some defense. So like I said, I'm excited to get this thing started and see what it looks like.
What does opening day mean for you personally?
It's a fresh start. Obviously with this year, with us having halves this year, it's going to add a little bit more a sense of urgency to winning. Especially as an organization, we're trying to get back to that aspect. Winning at all levels. It's going to promote winning at the major league level. So that's a big thing that we're pushing for this year. So. But opening day, it's fresh start, fresh beginning. A lot of guys made a lot of adjustments over the off season and trying to get them going, get them off to hot starts, and hopefully continue to see them progress, and hopefully have some guys that I send up to the big leagues for the first time, and also some guys I send up there that don't ever come back again.
Good.